Hey, good morning. Welcome to Ignite Day 2, Session 2. Hopefully you've got some great knowledge, some great news yesterday, and again this morning as we start to double-click into product. And thank you for joining us on Journey to Teams and to learn more about intelligent communications in Microsoft Teams. I'm James Skay. I'm a Senior Product Marketing Manager, and I manage Microsoft Teams meetings. And with me I have...
Good morning, everybody. I'm Paul Cannon, and man, I am loud. How many of you still have eardrums? Raise your hands. I'm Paul Cannon. Yeah. Okay, let me hold on for just a second. Let's see, maybe I got a little there. That's a little better, huh? Let me try that one more time. Hi, everyone. I'm Paul Cannon, and I am looking after calling from the marketing side in Teams. So you'll find that meetings and callings often go together, like peanut butter and chocolate, and so we often like to pair them together when we talk to you about these products.
And by a show of hands, little audience participation, how many of you today are using Teams? Perfect.
Yes, like that.
2 more asks. How many of you are using Teams for meetings?
Yes, like that.
And calling?
Okay, could be a little more, but that's why we're here. We're going to talk about that.
Perfect. So I just want to level set on the session objectives for today, for this morning. We're going to kind of give you an introductory view into Teams meetings. And we're going to do the same thing for calling. And then we're going to kind of bring them together by talking about how devices help complement the meetings and calling experience. At the end, we're going to take some questions. In fact, we have some device certificates to give out to some lucky folks who ask some questions. So we encourage audience participation at the end. However, there are other learning paths. You're part of the Journey to Teams. There's 2 separate learning paths. One dedicated specifically to meetings. That's mine, and that's all day tomorrow. Then there's one on calling, all day on Thursday. So throughout the presentations, we'll reference particular sessions. So if you want to double-click even further into a 200 or 300 level opportunity, you'll be able to do so. And so with that, let's start with the foundation of Microsoft Teams. Now, many of you probably saw Jared's keynote yesterday where he talked about Teams that used to be a 4-in-1 solution, is now 5. We had meetings, chat, calling, files, and now Teams as a platform with apps and workflows. As Paul and I mentioned, our sweet spot is for meetings and calling, and that's why we're here to share with you what intelligent communications in Teams actually means. So when you hear us reference intelligent communications, think of it across 4 areas: meetings, live events, and we'll talk about that distinction in a minute, calling, and devices. In today's world, collaboration is key. More and more people are spending time in meetings getting work done. In the past, meetings were just a point in time, right? Bring people together, make a decision, and you move on. So meetings are super key for us, and I'll talk about 4 specific meeting scenarios in a bit. Live events. Sorry, one more show of hands. How many of you have used live events or the product formerly known as Skype Meeting Broadcast? Okay, some hands. This is great.
That's good.
I like to say Teams meeting supports users, meetings from 2 to 10,000. And you're like, for those of you that don't know what live events is, you might be like, wait, how do I get 10,000 people into a meeting? With live events, we can host town hall style meetings that include like company all hands, webinars. And think about it as like a broadcasting out one to many. And we'll talk about that again in a few slides. In addition to that, we have calling. Now, calling is almost a different type of meeting, bringing people together. Sometimes calling can be done via VoIP, like a Teams to Teams call. Calling can also be done through PSTN services where people call your phone number. A lot of people, their phone number is their identity as much as it is their email address. So we're going to have some, Paul actually has some great tidbits on calling and some best practices and how you can get more involved in Teams with calling. And the rest of you that didn't have your hands raised, maybe this time next year you will when we talk about calling. And then last but not least, devices. Teams has a complete ecosystem of purpose-built devices for meetings and calling that are meant to complement the meetings and calling experience. And so we'll not only go through kind of like the portfolio at a high level, but there's actually a QR code with a discount. So if you're in the market for new devices, 20% off this week at Ignite. And also a call to action to join us at our booth where we have many of these devices available for people to have hands-on experiences with. So with that, let's talk about meeting types. As I mentioned, meetings in the past typically were just one-off silos. When I think about meetings as the PMM, I think about them across these 4 spectrums. We have scheduled meetings. I would say the majority of us spend our time in a scheduled meeting. Scheduled by default is structured. It's typically set in advance. There's a time, there's an agenda. It could even include people outside of your organization, not just those within. And in addition, you're going to hear me talk about this notion of a meeting lifecycle, and really Teams excels at meeting lifecycle in terms of helping people become more productive. Small preview. Ad hoc, spontaneous type meetings. Clicking in Teams, meet now, adding somebody, whether it's a person in your org or outside, just a single connection, super quick, ad hoc. People typically do that if they want to share their screen, they want to collaborate on a document, or like, hey, I'm about to submit this, what do you think? And so I'll also talk about how the meetings paradigm within Teams is almost shifting from some types of meetings can now be held over chat, and we'll talk more about that. Channel. Teams and channels are like peanut butter and jelly. If Paul and I are peanut butter and chocolate, Teams and channels are peanut butter and jelly. You can tell it's almost lunchtime.
Yeah.
I'm hungry. Channels actually, context stays within the channel. And as part of that, meetings happen within the context of that channel. And think about these, like a best case scenario would be like a daily scrum or a stand-up, where people who are subscribed to that particular channel get a notification once the meeting actually begins. And I'll show you an example of that. And then live events. I talked about live events already. There's a session tomorrow afternoon that's going to go as deep as you want into the architecture and the technology that is powering live events, which is Microsoft Stream, which is included as part of your Office 365 subscription. Now, I talked about this broadcasting out to 10,000 users. How does that work? How do you engage with an audience when it's one-to-many? Well, we have a built-in Q&A manager. And so as part of your event, you can create a production crew that sits behind the scenes and monitors Q&A. Fun fact, there was actually Q&A that was being moderated during keynote yesterday, and the Q&A manager was facilitating that conversation. But as I mentioned, for the process of my conversation over the next few minutes, I want to talk about scheduled meetings. So when we think about meetings, I think about Microsoft Teams bringing up a new approach to effective meetings. Before, meetings were standoff, one-to-one. People collaborate together. There's no, one meeting turns into the next, starting from ideation to completion. Shouldn't your context stay with you? So when we think about this life cycle, I break it down into 3 components: before, during, and after. So before the meeting, get ready for your meeting. Give your meeting attendees context. Give them purpose. Why are they coming to the meeting? What are they expecting from it? I don't know about you, but there's times where I get an invite. It's like, hope this time works. Great, and it's the most vague subject line. I really look forward to that meeting. I really don't. I want to figure out how can I be productive and collaborative and contribute to a particular topic. If you want my attention, give me purpose. Give me reason to be there. During. During is actually one of the most important aspects of this meeting lifecycle. I talk about Teams meetings as being inclusive. Whether you're down the hall or across the globe or sitting across from the conference room table, everyone has a voice, and everyone's voice should be heard. And I'm talking about people that might have hearing disabilities, might have visual impairments. I'm talking about everybody, all the way down to the timid person that sits in the back of the conference room and wants to speak up, but everybody around them is just talking over them. And then after, the most productive meeting didn't happen if there was no action or no notes taken from there. How many of you have ever been in a meeting, last 5 minutes, everything gets decided, and you all leave there, you're like, wait, you're spinning around. What happened? What are the action items? Or you had to leave a few minutes early, there was no notes. So this idea, this meeting life cycle, you hear me talk about and within the Teams product group as an important way in terms of you and your organization making your meetings more effective. So let's make this real. I'm not going to drain this slide, but essentially, these are aspects in which plug into the meeting lifecycle. And I think about every meeting has 4 components. There's chat, there's files, there's whiteboard, and then essentially there's also the meeting notes. So I want you guys to start to consider the fact that a meeting is an object. A meeting is an object. Think about that. The context, the history stays with the meeting. No longer, maybe your pre-read doesn't get sent via email. Maybe your pre-read gets sent in Teams, and I'll show you how to do that through the calendar view in Teams. So again, think about how do you pivot, how do you pull across your context, your history, the the richness of your meetings. So with that, I want to jump into a demo because I think it's actually better to see this in action rather than to just keep talking about it. So let me move over to my demo machine. So most of you are familiar with Teams. There was a few hands that I didn't see raised. Left rail, think about it, activity, chat, Teams, calendar. For those that are brand new to meetings, it's important to note that this calendar tab was once referred to as meetings. It's now calendar because it actually populates your calendar as it comes across from Office 365 and Exchange. So whether you have a Teams meeting or you have a one-on-one that's in person, it's going to show across on your calendar here. I also mentioned the ability to chat with participants. So before the meeting's even begun, I can jump into this meeting and I can chat with participants. And in this case, there's a meeting already in progress. Just to send them a quick note, I'll be a few minutes late. That's all. I didn't have to join the meeting to send a text or send a message. So at this point, I want to join the meeting. So I hit join, and there's this pre-join stage. Now, I want to call out something super, I think, cool. Do you see this little area at the bottom that said there are 5 participants in the meeting? They recommend that I join muted because people can be disruptive. Super cool. And you're going to start to see these little areas of intelligence just come across in the product. So in this stage, I have a couple options. I can choose to join with my video on or off. What I've noticed in this new role is that Teams has enabled organizations to turn on their video more often. The culture of meetings, face-to-face interaction, is evolving. Video is a huge, huge way to make that happen. I can choose to blur my background. Now, what you're seeing is actually coming later on early calendar year, and it's around what we call custom backgrounds. And you can see here that I might be working from home or I might be working from a coffee shop, but yet I can actually look like I'm working from an office. So I'm going to just join it with my background blurred. And in addition, there's 2 other things I want to call out. I talk about those purpose-built Teams devices that make every calling and meeting experience that much better. Within this settings over here, I'm able to configure my audio devices, whether or not I have one device for speaker, one device for microphone. I can choose which camera I want to use, and I can also make a test call. So if I have a high-stakes meeting and I want to make sure that I have it set up just properly, I make a test call. In addition, there's this other join options down below. If you're joining in a conference room, for example, you might join with audio off. If there was another laptop with me nearby that was already in a meeting, or I joined a conference room that had a Microsoft Teams room system, it would automatically prompt me to say, you're in the meeting room. We recommend that you join muted. No more, or join with no audio. No more of that aggressive howling. Phone audio. Whoops. Phone audio allows you to dial into the meeting using audio conferencing or PSTN services. And then last but not least, we have Add Room. And this allows us to pick a conference room that has scheduling capabilities within Office 365. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to join this meeting, and this meeting is already going to be in progress. So here we have some of my colleagues. Hey guys, good to see you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute my speakers, but I'm going to unmute my microphone. And what I want to do is show you what we demonstrated, what's called live captions. Ooh. So live captions are coming to Teams very, very soon. They're starting in English, and then they will be rolling out in additional languages next year. Now, I talked about Teams meetings being inclusive. This is a great way to make sure that people that might have a hearing issue, have an English deficiency problem, where English might be their 3rd or 4th language, or I'm in a coffee shop, or I'm in the back row watching a session, and I don't want to have an earbud. I just want to actually read what's being spoken. So live captions are a great way of being able to showcase inclusivity in multiple ways. And again, as I mentioned, this will be coming out in preview in a few weeks. And you can see some of my other colleagues have actually joined, and they've shared their own custom background. It's a great way of people being able to express themselves in a subtle way. But imagine if you have people in your organization connecting with customers, you could actually upload a branded image with your logo, such that all of your meetings are very consistent in appearance. In addition, I talked about what happens when someone misses the meeting. Now, I love a tagline, be in the meeting even if you missed the meeting. Now, what works for me is I cloud record nearly all of my meetings. For those of you that may have used Skype for Business, server or online, I liked to record the meeting, but the moment I hung up from the meeting, guess what? My laptop turned into a jet engine because it was having to encode the file. Then I had a half a gig file that I had to figure out what to do with. Microsoft Teams stores all of your cloud recordings in Microsoft Stream. In addition to storing in a Microsoft Stream, it uses transcription services to create a transcript of the meeting. And I'll show you that in just a minute. You'll notice that once I hit record, it prompted, just like you see on the screen here, let everyone know that they're being recorded. But on their end, they also see that they're being recorded as well. If I want to share a file or share my screen, I click on the share tray, and you'll see that there's some options here. I can choose to share my desktop, a particular window, or one of my most recently used PowerPoints. So in this case, I'm going to load up my Contoso marketing plan. Now, just like in Skype for Business, we have a couple different ways for people to be able to ingest the content. So once this opens, you'll notice that we have the typical slide sorting capabilities. Just like before. And I can choose here to lock the view or go private, where I'm only, I've disabled private here, and if I bring it back, folks are able to come in and browse on their own. In addition, we've heard loud and clear from many of our customers that they want the opportunity of being able to share their system audio with the Teams meeting. Think about if you're playing a video or an audio clip from your file, all I need to do is simply click on System Audio. The other thing that we, that we mentioned was Whiteboard. So we actually have GA'd the Microsoft web-based whiteboard into every single Teams meeting. So I go to the share tray, I click on Whiteboard here, and it's going to pop up. And I talked about that meeting lifecycle. Every meeting now has a Microsoft whiteboard included. And so once it joins this whiteboard, we're going to go ahead and collaborate, and we'll have Paul, you can go ahead and jump in. And so in real time, everyone is able to, on their phone, on their device. I have two guests joining on their mobile phones, just their iPhones or their Androids. You see the point. People are able to collaborate in real time. There's also some tips and tricks that we have with our mobile device. Mobile is first-class experience within Teams. And we'll have more information on that tomorrow in our What's New with Microsoft Teams. So if you don't have that on your calendar, take a look. And then in addition to that, there's a couple different things. We can choose to chat with attendees. So you'll notice how that previous chat that I sent to the group is available here. My colleagues have responded. And you notice that there's even some app mentions. In addition to this, I can choose to pop out my meeting. This was a new feature that we announced yesterday as well. So meetings will be able to be popped out so you can streamline your workflow within Microsoft Teams. And then last but not least, I'm going to stop this recording and let Stream do its thing. So I'm going to stop recording. We also have attendee presenter controls. So when I go here to the people, you'll notice that I can click on the ellipses and make them a participant. And what that does is it prevents them from taking particular actions. Presenters are able to mute, unmute, share content, start recording, stop recording. Attendees, they're attendees. They can mute and unmute themselves. They can't share content, nor can they toggle anything on the recording. So essentially, this is the scheduled meeting experience. The same thing that happened with the ad hoc or the meet now. Thank you guys for joining. We'll see you later this afternoon. My meeting attendees, not you guys. We're not done yet.
Yeah, sit down.
So you'll also notice that at the end, there was that toast. The toast actually prompted me to rate the call. We use telemetry in the product to get your feedback on all meetings and all calls. And we use that feedback in an iterative process where we improve the product based on feedback. So the last thing I want to show you here is this Meet Now. I talked about Meet Now as one of those ad hoc meeting types. I can easily pick a title. It defaults to my name, and today I'm Adele. Hello from the other side. And I join, and it's as easy as sending an email address to any email address. Gmail, Hotmail, a corporate account, Office 365, not a Microsoft 365 account. And what that means is, with our WebRTC experience, people can join with one click. Super simple. You can do everything within the WebRTC browser as it relates to calls, meetings, even sharing your audio and your video. So I'm going to hang up from there. And then I want to browse to a particular team. And I want to show you, where did it go? We had a recording earlier. That was a channel meeting that was recorded. So imagine if I was in a channel. I can choose to come in here and watch the meeting straight in here. And I'll show you how this gets initiated in just a second. But essentially, and I have my speakers muted, I have this closed caption option. And so as people join the meeting, I'll just jump to it. You can see that the captions are there. But one of my favorite features is the search functionality. So I'm going to look for the word update, or keyword. It could be my name. And what it's doing is it's going out and it's searching the transcript, and it allows me to jump straight to the point in time where that keyword was mentioned. Now imagine if your name was mentioned, right? You'd want to know about it. And no longer are you then having to sit through the entire length of that recorded meeting to figure out where an action item for you came out. And as I mentioned, channel meetings they're easy to kick off. When I schedule a meeting within the calendar, I can also do this from Outlook, by the way. Title, I can fill this out like I typically would. I can also choose to add a channel. If you want to schedule a channel meeting, it needs to be scheduled in Teams today. If you want to do a scheduled meeting, that can all happen in Outlook. So here it allows me to specify my channel, my team and channel, and I'll do it here. But we've already had, I showed you the recording from the team channel, but I want to show you an easy way of also kicking off an ad hoc meeting within the particular channel. Think about like you just had a daily scrum, you want to actually get everyone back on board again. Simply go in here. The stage looks a little bit different, but again, it's still giving you that pre-join experience. I can add a subject, and I can say meet now. So for those that are in the team, they're actually getting a toast right now saying that James has started a meeting, and it has the title of that meeting there. And also, by the way, my speakers are muted. How many times have you guys been in a meeting, try to talk, and they're like, oh, can't hear you, can't hear you.
Hello,
Teams,
hello.
Teams detected that I was speaking, not just ambient noise, but speaking, so it's prompting me with these user-facing diagnostics that say, hey, your speakers are muted. Also, if I were to mute my microphone and continue to talk, it's going to give me the same error. But this time, not that my speakers are muted. Oh, it's going to make a liar of me right now. Not that my speakers are muted, but that my microphone is on mute. So that's essentially kind of like the intro to Teams, as I mentioned, that we're starting off with. And we're going to have a deeper dive on that tomorrow in the MTG series. And so I want to just talk briefly about innovation. Teams is an iterative product. I talked about the features, the feedback that's been coming from product telemetry. We're updating not only the client, but the service every 2 weeks. Sometimes the service gets updated beforehand or more frequently. So you'll see here some of the features that we brought from Skype to Teams that shipped since January. You can see some of the items that we shipped in the last quarter. By the way, how many of you were using Skype for Business Server or using Skype for Business Server? Perfect. We've actually introduced this notion of Teams meetings first. Continue to use your Skype for Business Server for chat and for calling on-premise, and then host your meetings in Teams. It's an introduction to Teams as a way of being able to experience all the innovation that we're bringing to Teams meetings. We've also talked about, or we've launched, being able to right-click on a participant and pinning them such that you can have one incoming video as that focal point for your meeting, just like you can pan and zoom out. I talked about the plug-in free web experiences, the Meet Now. But think some of the coolest innovations what's coming. So multi-window for meetings, live captions in English. The whiteboard actually GA'd this week in Teams. And then we're soon going to, and then attendee presenter controls are coming very soon, as well as Citrix support for VDI environments with optimized meetings capabilities. We support meetings today, but it's not necessarily an optimized experience, and we're bringing that. And then last but not least, before I turn over to Paul, I want to talk about audio conferencing. We all know that VoIP is like the best experience possible at times. But you know, there's times where you don't have the best internet signal. Or you know what? I'm joining through the lightweight meeting joining experience because I don't have an up-to-date browser. I need audio conferencing to connect to my meeting and to be able to dial in to get the audio. Audio conferencing is available commercially in 72 countries with dial-ins for over 400 cities across 90 countries. You can see here on the lower right, this is what the meeting invite looks like. So there's that join meeting, but then there's also a dial-in number. And you can choose as an administrator if you want to provide toll-free numbers or if you want to make them call a toll line, then you'll see that the conference ID is there. Now, for those of you that may have had audio conferencing in the past, one of the things we heard loud and clear was, okay, I memorized my bridge number, but I hate having to memorize my conference ID. So if you were to click on either one of these numbers, especially on your mobile device, guess what it's going to do? It's going to dial the number. There's 2 commas for a pause, and then it automatically enters the bridge number. So there's no longer the need for you to memorize those numbers. It's super convenient. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to my esteemed colleague, Paul, for Teams calling.
Mr. Skay, thank you very much. You know, I loved your little thing about Adele, your little hint to her about, you know, hello from the other side. It just brought a marketing idea for me in Teams about being able to reach out to your loved ones in the beyond. Maybe now you can have meetings with them.
Nice.
In the beyond. Contact your loved ones. No, doesn't. Okay, never mind. I'm going to focus on calling. So let's go ahead and get going with that. So calling in Teams, first of all, it exists. And it's super important that everybody understand that. We still are running into customers, but I want to walk you through a little bit about what the great year in calling has been for the product. So for those of you familiar with Enterprise Connect, anyone? Have you guys heard of that one? That is definitely a show that is a third-party show. It's great. A lot of folks are out there demonstrating their products, including Microsoft. So we won Best Upgrade in that show, as well as Best Overall Enterprise Connect winner for solution. That was a great start for us, and we were really excited about it. Come July, you guys probably saw that we announced some teeny tiny numbers for Teams, DAO, and MAU. Very impressive where we made it. August, we became the leader, one of the leaders in Gartner's Meeting Magic Quadrant, as well as the UCAS Magic Quadrant. As probably some of the folks in this room know, who have Gartner subscriptions, oftentimes the approach to the customers is to go check with Gartner first before they even talk to any vendor. So that was really important to us, and we were really happy about that. Similarly, we went ahead and landed in Forrester's Wave for UCAS as well. And all the comments really lead to the idea that calling and all the rest of the product and Teams is ready for enterprise consumption. And then now, direct routing, which we'll talk about in a moment, is now being used in over 80 different countries. And I thought I would just cheat and ask too. For those people who said they're using dial tone or PSTN in Teams, how many are using direct routing? Holy moly. Okay, that's great. Okay, so have we got a session for you on Thursday? We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about calling for Teams and its basic features. First of all, and this is super important, right? We are integrated in the product. We call it Calling for Everyone. It's on the left nav rail. Everyone has this ability to make a VoIP call inside Teams to any other Teams user in their tenant. And soon, with Federation, we'll be able to do that even more, right? And so you'll be able to connect. So it's not even talking about traditional PSTN legacy dial tone. We're just talking about being able to make those connections. We also do provide calling at your fingertips, right? So you will see all these different features that are available in the product. Those come even inside calling. Like one of the questions I often get, let's just take a quick test. Do you only get voicemail when you get PSTN services in Teams? No, right, I heard that, very good. The answer is no. You actually do get voicemail as part of calling even before you've turned on dial tone. In other words, assigned a phone number to someone. So that's great. It really makes it a fully functional product. And we already have customers reporting how they really are lessening the number of calls they're making, actual expensive calls, because they're making sure people are doing it inside Teams. But then finally, of course, PSTN still drives the majority of your businesses, right? People have to dial in, have to communicate with people around the world. Microsoft offers calling plans, which is our first-party solution for having phone numbers and dial tone in Teams, or you can use direct routing, which is a little bit more of a flexible way of connecting, bringing your own carrier in and connecting trunks into Teams, and then being able to configure it to your heart's content. Typically, those are customers who have very specific designs and circumstances for their PSTN access, and they'd like to do that. Customers who take calling plans are often looking for simplicity or speed to availability, all right? And of course, this goes across all our Windows clients, right? So Windows, Mac, Edge, mobile, and we recently announced Chrome, so you can make calls from Chrome. So you can be running Teams inside the Chrome browser and make those phone calls, which is great. And of course, I left my animations behind me as I walked you through the slide. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about those two options for PSTN, right? You have direct routing and calling plans, okay? So first of all, calling plans is something Microsoft started back in 2015, and then they moved to Teams in 2017. And essentially, they provide, like I said, Microsoft-based calling plans in 10 countries. So you literally can, in your tenant, either buy it, or if you're on a volume licensing, you talk to your account team, and you can buy calling plans. You can have that initiated inside your tenant, and then you can request phone numbers, and then you can actually assign phone numbers. This is all done inside the tenant. In fact, one of the things we're announcing this week is that we've, if you had done this in the past, you might have seen that we were still using what they called LAC, which was the Link Admin Console. A note to my engineering colleagues, maybe we don't always put the product name right next to that, because when we decide to change the name, life gets a little busier. So, but that means now that we've brought it into the latest admin console, and so it makes it even easier, faster, and more efficient, all right? We also have two partners out there, SoftBank in Japan, Telstra in Australia. They are offering third-party calling plans. Those operate very much the same. What's interesting is that right now, for instance, you can actually, if you have employees in Australia, this was not available when it first released, but now that we've changed that, if you have employees in Australia, but let's say you're a US-based company, you'll be able to actually go to Telstra and ask them for a calling plan for that employee and be able to establish one in Australia. So very convenient to have that. We don't have that yet in Japan, but that's coming soon, all right? All right, so I will confess, I did go to a public school here in the United States, and so my geography lessons were probably a little limited, but even I know there's more than 12 countries in the world. I can just look at this handy-dandy map and see that myself. So we had to come up with a different solution for customers who wanted dial tone in all the other places around the world, right? And so that is direct routing. And essentially, direct routing allows you to basically bring your own carrier to the party. If your company has contracts with AT&T or T-Mobile or maybe Orange or whatever, wherever your telco is, and you guys have no intent of dropping those, you want to keep those, you can do that and bring that in, and direct routing allows that. The heart of that is something called a session border controller. I'm not going to go into details here, but that can be a virtual device that helps control the routing of these phone lines. And we'll talk about that on Thursday if you'd like to know a little bit more about that. The key point here I want you to take away is that both are available and you can mix and match as you need. The simplest answer may be, hey, Paul, we're located in 20 countries. 5 of them are on your map. Sorry, I probably shouldn't lean on the button so hard. So you can use calling plans in those 5 countries and then use direct routing in the other countries. But there's even more complexity than that available to you if that's what you want in your dialing plan, because in some locations, it may be really advantageous for you to have outbound calls that are international go across direct routing versus using our calling plans. We're totally okay with that. That is fine. So you can actually mix and match calling plans and direct routing in a given country or location, right? So this is really important. It allows you the maximum amount of flexibility. Sure, we'd love you to have you on our calling plans, but it's much more important to us that you have a complete collaboration solution that includes calling, and therefore direct routing exists to allow you to do that PSTN calling itself. Okay, with that, I'm going to show you a quick demo. Sorry, I'm going to move pretty fast here because we would like to leave some time for questions. And so let's go ahead and move over to machine number 7, right? Yeah, 7. Okay, so here is my layout. And you can see calling's on the left nav rail. It's there by default always. And in fact, there's no dial pad at this moment. A little bit of demo simulation there. But even though I don't say I'm a user who doesn't have a calling plan, it's all good. I can go ahead and look at my speed dialing and have all my contacts there, create groups. New feature that came up just a few months ago, actually at the beginning of the year, was parked calls. So if someone's parked a call for you, you can pick it up here and get that on there. So that classic moment of, Dave, line 50, Dave, line 50, you can now go ahead and get paged and take that call, right? Contacts, I think that's pretty straightforward. You have all your contacts in here. You can go through and look for those. Yes, there was an Elon Musk joke coming, but I've decided to park it. So you'll just have to look at Elon Musk and wonder, what was Paul going to do with that? All right, and then there's also history. And yes, I was testing the Elon Musk call, in fact. So embarrassing, James. And so you can see all the history of your calls, what happened, and do all those things. And of course, we have voicemail. And of course, it's Elon Musk. So let's see actually if the audio is working. I was having a little trouble with my audio here a moment.
Okay. It's awesome. Before you walk away.
Okay, so I would say that is me garbling it when I was trying to leave it. But essentially, you now will have voicemail. And you can also have a transcript available there as well by default, had I had my demo in the right place. So it makes it fairly easy to go ahead and use our product as a full-featured enterprise calling system. Full-featured. Okay, so let's just take a quick look at one feature. I think that's what we only have time for here. But I'm going to go over to calling. And so I am Irving, and I have decided that I'm a big wig. I'm a big wig, bigger than most wigs. And so therefore, I'm going to go into settings. I'm going to go ahead and head into Manage Delegates. And I can actually choose my delegates. And so I'm going to go ahead and add Adele. Hello from the other side, James. And I will add that in. And now I've easily added Adele as my delegate. What does that mean? When I get a call, it should ring through to James' machine. Do you want to shift over? Are you to your machine? There you go. And I will call Irving right now.
First off, I actually got a message saying that you made me a delegate, so at least I know what's about to happen.
That's right. So there is actually a message for him to know that. He can also look it up. Here comes the call.
So based on this, I see that there's a call coming in. I see the caller ID, but in addition, at the top, there's a header, call for Irvin. So I'm going to go ahead and answer that. I am answering it on mute. But there's a couple options here that are key for delegation. You have options. We can choose to park the call, as Paul mentioned. We can choose to consult, then transfer, or we can just transfer. So in this case, I'm going to consult, and I'm going to consult with Irvin. And I'm going to say,
so check this out. We're actually using chat and text to do this consulting. Typically in these consultative transfer features, it's audio, right? This is actually really cool. This is the whole idea about intelligent comms, taking advantage of what tools are available to us at the time. So that comes in from Adele. Susan's on the phone, needs to talk about budget ask. And I'm going to say, no, I'm a bigwig. I don't need to talk to Susan right now. So go ahead and you can just hang up or send it to voicemail, whatever you want.
I can send it to his office line, or I can choose to send it straight to voicemail. So in that case, she's gone straight to voicemail. I can see on the upper left, it's given me the status of what's there.
That's great. So I'm sorry, we are tight on time, so I'm going to keep that demo short because I think we have 5 minutes left in our session. Turn it back over.
Perfect. Thanks. Promise, last but not least, talk briefly about devices. As I mentioned, devices are the cornerstone of Teams meeting and calling experiences, purpose-built devices meant to complement the experience. We think about these across these key areas. We know that our day starts typically on our mobile phone. Might be in the car, on the train, we typically might have a headset. Certified headsets actually make that calling experience better. Whether or not it's a noise-canceling headset, it's a headset that blocks the audio out behind you, or it's a machine or a tablet that you're using as part of your journey. All the way to shared devices, whether or not it's a focus room, huddle room, a conference room, or even like a boardroom. So as I mentioned at our booth, you can actually see most of these devices. set up in the vignettes that these meant to accommodate. So we talk about Teams experiences where being able to transition seamlessly from one environment to the other. One of the big reasons that these devices are truly purpose-built, making inclusive meetings for everybody, making sure that no matter where they are that they're heard. Certified hardware makes you understand that your investment in the product is actually going to give you that quality experience and that it's always ready. And so I wanted to share one video with this group. This is actually a video that highlights the intelligent content capture camera for Microsoft Teams rooms. And if you haven't seen this yet or you want to see more, come to the booth. You actually can see it in action, snap a picture, you can tweet it, you can take a print home with you, but it's actually really cool.
Meetings in today's modern workplace don't just happen in a conference room. They're collaborative sessions with teams around the world. With Microsoft Teams Rooms, we're bringing some tech magic to your meetings to enable your teams to work like they're all in one place, regardless if they attend in person or remotely. And getting started is easy. Just grab the first conference room you find open and use Proximity Join to connect to a Microsoft Teams Room device. While in the room, you might want to focus on a specific attendee in the meeting. Just pin the video from the console to put the speaker on full screen. Beyond video, we want to make sure people who join remotely also feel included with brainstorming happening in the room. And while we can already do that with a digital whiteboard, many meeting rooms utilize a physical whiteboard. The new content camera is able to intelligently find, crop, and zoom in to create a full screen experience. But there's more. Those creative thoughts and ideas can now be digitized and brought into a collaborative experience for everyone involved. So not being physically in the room is no longer a limitation. Even if someone walks in front of the whiteboard, remote participants continue to see right through them. And any progress is continuously captured to keep everyone engaged. Before, collaboration on the whiteboard was limited to people in the room, and information couldn't flow and remained trapped. Now, even when sharing your notes and brilliant ideas on a whiteboard, meetings can be an inclusive experience for every participant, no matter where they are. Work like you're all in one place with Microsoft Teams Rooms.
So the one thing that I want you guys to take away, QR code 20% off. There's also a promo code that you can capture here for 20% off Teams certified devices at office.com/Teams devices. And with that said, we have 2 minutes to go, so I know we're between you and lunch. For those that want to head to lunch, great. For those that have questions, feel free to come up. Paul and I are happy to field them. As I mentioned, we have some certificates if you want a free speaker puck, limited to like 8. So who has the best questions? We'll stack rank from there. And then last but not least, we're going I'm leaving the meetings learning path on the screen, and then in a few minutes, I'll switch it over to the calling learning path. Awesome. Thank you guys for joining. Have a great Ignite.
Thank you, guys.